My name is Alara Wynn, 30 years old.
It happened on a random Thursday, the kind of day that feels too normal to ever become a story. I was at Target, walking through the fluorescent aisles after work, a basket swinging from my wrist, a few candles, some protein bars, nothing important. I wasn't thinking about my sister Amanda or her wedding, or the fact that she hadn't texted me in days. Everything seemed fine. Then my phone buzzed.
It was the group chat. Family wedding crew ring. I expected another argument about table runners or tasting menus. Instead, I saw 5 words that felt like a blade pressed behind my ribs. You're not invited. Goodbye, loser.
No context, no emoji, just that. Then, beneath it, my mom added a heart emoji, one tiny red seal of approval. I froze in the middle of the snack aisle. The sound of distant music hummed from the ceiling. Someone's child laughed near the end cap of chips, and for a second it felt like I was the only person in a world that had just tilted off its axis. I reread it again and again, waiting for someone to say it was a joke, that Amanda's phone had been hacked. But the chat went silent. I left the basket on a random shelf and walked out without paying. That night, I didn't respond. I watched. Hours later, they were back to joking like nothing had happened. Amanda posted a TikTok of a bride laughing. Mom wrote, "So true all." Dad commented, "Finally, no drama." That was when I knew it wasn't a mistake. They wanted me out. They forgot, though, that everything was in my name. The venue, the dress, the flowers, the cake, all of it. I had paid every deposit, every fee. Amanda had always promised she'd pay me back once the wedding gifts rolled in, and my parents had mumbled that they'd contribute soon. They never did. I'd been keeping receipts, literally. So the next morning at 8:14 a.m., I opened my laptop and made a list. Venue, florist, caterer, dress boutique. I called the venue first. "Yes," I said calmly. "I'd like to cancel the reservation." They hesitated, recognizing my voice from weeks of planning. "Are you sure, Ms. Wynn?" "Positive." Each call was a small incision. Clean, precise, final. By 11 o'clock a.m., the wedding was gone. At 12:22, my phone started buzzing. "Amanda, what did you do?" Then came the flood. "Mom, you're ruining everything." "Amanda, you're mentally unstable." "Dad, this is exactly why we didn't want you involved." 18 messages in 10 minutes. I didn't answer. Then Amanda sent one more text that made me laugh out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was desperate. "You have 1 hour to fix this, or I'll tell everyone what you did to Ryan." I took a screenshot, blocked her. It wasn't even creative. Amanda thought she could cut me out and keep the money. My parents thought I'd back down like always. They didn't realize I'd finally reached the end of what I was willing to tolerate. That night, I opened my receipts folder, a growing monument of how they'd used me for years. The house repairs I was repaid for. The emergency fund I volunteered. The down payments will return next month. It was all there, every transaction wrapped in guilt and affection. Everyone labeled love. This time I wasn't labeling it that way. When I finally replied in the group chat, it was only one line. "Perfect. Then I'll remove my payments from the account." Amanda sent a meme of a money gun. "Mom, don't be dramatic, sweetie." "Dad." I stayed silent. What they didn't know was that every vendor was already confirming cancellation in my inbox. I could feel their world shrinking behind my quiet screen. By the next morning, silence. Not the kind that heals, the kind that calculates. The same family who used to call me 3 times a day for quick approvals had disappeared. I could almost hear them plotting how to fix the mess without me. What they didn't understand was that I hadn't done this out of rage. I'd done it because something in me had finally switched off. The part that kept believing family meant forgiveness at any cost. They wanted a wedding without me. Now, they could try to have one without my money. The first few days after I pulled the plug were quiet. In that artificial way, hospital rooms are quiet, machines hidden behind curtains, doing their steady work while everyone whispers. No tantrums, no calls that lasted an hour, no frantic lists of one more thing. I went to work, answered emails, bought groceries I could actually afford without checking 3 accounts. When my phone lit up, it was mostly promotional codes and shipping updates. In the space where my family used to live, there was a hush so complete it made my coffee taste stronger. The hush broke on social media. Amanda posted a photo in a new wedding dress, clearly off the rack, a size that tried to guess her shape and almost got it right. The caption said, "New dress." The other one was cursed anyway. The likes were lower than usual. The comments worked hard. "Stunning babe. So much more you. Love her vision." Under the gloss, the fabric puckered at her waist. That night, Mom sent a 2-paragraph text that read like a script she'd used before. She was disappointed in how I'd handled things and hoped I'd come to my senses before it's too late. She used the language of motherhood like a soft weapon, concern sharpened into instruction. I watched the typing bubble appear and disappear as if she were searching for a final sentence that could still unlock me. My screen went black. Dad followed with a YouTube link about forgiveness. A pastor's thumbnail squared off at the camera like an umpire. I didn't click. 2 days later, my Aunt Kathy called. She didn't pretend she wanted to catch up. She breathed into the phone and said, "Your sister's telling people you had a breakdown, that you tried to ruin the wedding because you're jealous." She didn't believe it. Not exactly, but the story had entered the water, and she wanted to know if she needed to hold her breath. "Did you really cancel everything?" "Yes," I said, "and I'm not sorry." Silence, then a soft, unscripted, "Well, good for you." After that, the family grapevine did what it always does. Bloomed and strangled. My cousin Sarah messaged me to say the backyard wedding idea had escalated into a rental tent in Amanda's fiancé's parents' yard. Folding chairs multiplied like rabbits. Someone's neighbor called the city after seeing the setup creep toward the property line. A fire marshal came, clipboard in hand, and shut it down. The caterer, who had seen my name on the original invoice, refused to proceed without me. The dress shop wouldn't release the gown. The balance was unpaid, and the note on the file said, "Hold until authorization." The florist, a woman who had once cried with us while choosing peonies over garden roses, replied to Amanda's email with a single sentence, "We will not be moving forward." Meanwhile, my phone lit up with numbers I didn't recognize. "Hey, heard you were stepping back to take care of yourself. So proud of you. If you need me to talk to Amanda, I can totally help smooth things over." Or, "So sorry about the drama. Weddings, right? I'm sure it's a misunderstanding." Or, my favorite, "I just want to hear your side before I respond." Respond to whom? To what? To the story that was making the rounds like a cold? I didn't answer any of them. Guilt in the morning, flattery in the afternoon, concern at night. The cycle ran like a 24-hour pharmacy. 3 days before the original wedding date, Mom showed up at my apartment. She rang the bell twice, then placed her palm on the door like she was feeling for a heartbeat. Through the peephole, I watched her fix her hair, check her reflection in her phone, and practice a face that said, "I'm not mad. I'm disappointed." I didn't open the door. She stayed 13 minutes, long enough for the neighbors to notice, not long enough to be embarrassing, then left. 10 minutes later, a text. "Please, just talk to us. This can still be fixed." The phrase, "still be fixed," floated in my mind like a label on a jar. You, the fix. Me, the fixer. That afternoon, a Venmo request arrived from Amanda. $7,800. No message, no context. Just a number standing there like a stranger at my gate. I declined it. 10 minutes later, another request arrived. Same amount. No words. I declined again and blocked her. I could feel the thread inside them snap, the realization that money had stopped being a faucet they could turn by reaching for my name. Around 6, the venue called. The woman's tone was careful, capable, like she was used to managing people who had the power to embarrass themselves. "Ms. Wynne," she said, "someone called today attempting to reverse the cancellation. They claim to be you. When we requested ID verification over email, they hung up. We've flagged your file." I thanked her. She didn't ask what was going on. Professionals recognize a family fire when the smoke billows under their office door. That night, Dad emailed me with the subject line, "Let's fix this." He offered a soft apology that read like it wanted something. Tensions were high. Words were impulsive. No one meant to hurt me, even though they had. Then he adjusted the camera angle. I needed to see the bigger picture. "You still have time to make this right," he wrote, as if the sequence of events had been a magic trick in which I sawed a woman in half and forgot how to put her back together. He ended with a vague promise to pay me back after the dust settles, which made me laugh out loud alone in my kitchen. There was no dust. There was wreckage.
By morning, Amanda's Instagram story appeared. A black and white selfie, no makeup, a mug cradled like a prop in a sorrow play. Across the image, the worst kind of betrayal comes from the ones closest to you. She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. By noon, my inbox looked like a community bulletin board. Old college friends surfaced with carefully neutral sentences. Distant cousins used emojis like life preservers tossed from a deck they weren't sure was sinking. Just wanted to check on you. People are talking. Is there anything I can do? There was a time when I would have replied with jokes, softened the edges with reason. I watched the messages turn gray and disappear down the thread. The insiders kept calling it in. Sarah phoned from her car, whispering like she was transferring state secrets. The backyard plan was dead. The caterer had blacklisted Amanda's name after she tried to use my old invoice as proof of an existing account. The dress shop refused to release the gown. No one had the money to free it, and Ryan, her fiancé, was wobbling. He'd told a groomsman, "If this is what marrying her family looks like, maybe I need to rethink things." Then came the message that stitched all the separate fabrics into one large, unforgiving quilt. It popped up in the group chat I had never left. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe they imagined I was too ashamed to watch. "Mom, we can't do this without her. It's not possible, Amanda." Amanda: "So what? We just beg her?" Dad: "We offer to pay her back. She'll come around. She always does." That line, the one he didn't know how to keep inside his head, stuck to me like ash. She always does. Not she will, not we hope, but an old habit stated like a natural law, like gravity, like rain falls, night returns, Ilara pays. I set my phone down and pressed my thumb against the countertop, counting the grooves in the marble like I could etch a new rule with pressure alone. My heart didn't race. It didn't even lift. It lowered into something steady, a weight that fit the shape of my chest. They had said it out loud now. Not that they loved me, not that they missed me, not that they were sorry, only that the machine couldn't run without fuel, and I had been the fuel for years. That evening, I took a walk. A wind moved down my street, flipping leaves onto their pale bellies. A father taught a child to ride a bike, running behind with one hand on the seat until the wobbling smoothed, and he let go. I stood at the corner and watched the kid pedal forward, the father jogging a few more steps than necessary because letting go, once you've started, is a habit you have to teach your body. I thought about all the times I'd kept a hand on the family bike, steadying what wasn't mine to ride. When I got home, I turned off my ringer. I made dinner. I washed the same plate I always wash. In the quiet, I could almost hear the distance gathering itself like a storm deciding where to break. I didn't know from which direction it would come, only that it would arrive intentionally, like a knock you could never mistake for a neighbor's. And somewhere past midnight, the house settled, wood, nails, air, into the shape it was going to keep. They needed me, not as a sister, as a solution. The admission didn't hurt. It clarified. I went to bed with my phone face down, the old dynamic laid out like a map I wasn't taking with me. In the morning, there would be another post, another request, another invented angle. The pattern was merciless and boring both. I had broken my side of it. They were learning how to live in the space I left. I fell asleep knowing the hush wouldn't hold. A deliberate knock would come. It came 2 nights before what would have been the wedding rehearsal. A knock at 6:42 p.m., slow and deliberate, the kind of knock that knows it has a right to be heard. I was in the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator masking my hesitation. When I looked through the peephole, I froze. Amanda. She looked nothing like herself. Her hair was damp and uncombed, her eyeliner smeared like storm residue. In one hand, she held a plastic grocery bag. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, watching. After a long pause, her voice came through, small, cracking in the middle. "Ilara, please, I know you can hear me." I didn't answer. The silence stretched until she started crying. Not the performative kind she used when she wanted something. This was raw, uneven, unfamiliar. "Ryan's gone," she said between breaths. "He left last night, packed his things,
said he didn't want to start a marriage built on debt to my sister. Her words hit me harder than I wanted to admit. For a moment, I saw the echo of us as kids. Two girls in matching Christmas pajamas fighting over who got to put the star on the tree. I can't go back to Mom's, she continued. They're blaming me for everything. That made me pause. Slowly, I unlatched the door halfway. Amanda's eyes were red and swollen, her posture smaller, like someone deflated from the inside. Without a word, she held out the grocery bag. Inside was a thick stack of envelopes bound by a rubber band, receipts, contracts, handwritten notes. My handwriting. She swallowed before speaking. Mom found these in her drawer, said they prove you aren't owed anything, that you kept everything for control. I felt my stomach tighten. But, Amanda's voice trembled. When I opened them, I realized something. Most of the payments I thought Mom and Dad made, they were fake duplicates. You paid for everything. She looked up, eyes brimming. They told me you offered because you were lonely, that it made you feel needed. Her words landed heavy, not because they were cruel, because she believed them. For a long time, neither of us spoke. She stood in the doorway, twisting the rubber band in her fingers, while I tried to reconcile the person in front of me with the one who had typed, "Goodbye, loser," 2 weeks ago. Finally, I said, "You really didn't know, did you?" Amanda shook her head. "I swear I didn't." The air between us was thick, not forgiveness, not anger, just the slow realization of how deep our parents' manipulation ran. Before I could say anything else, my phone buzzed on the counter, a new email. I glanced at the subject line, attempted account reinstatement, fraud alert. I opened it. The wedding venue manager had written, "Someone claiming to be your assistant called to reinstate your reservation and requested the remaining balance be charged to your card on file. We asked for ID verification, but they hung up. The call has been traced. We're flagging the file for potential fraud and wanted you to be aware." The call had come from my mother's number. Amanda leaned over my shoulder to read it. Her hand flew to her mouth. "She really did that?" I nodded. She didn't cry this time. She just stared at the screen, face hollowed by disbelief. "She told me you were exaggerating, that you always make her look bad. That's why I—" She stopped herself, then whispered, "That's why I said those things in the chat." I didn't answer. There wasn't anything left to say. We sat in silence, the kind that feels like both of you are waiting for the other to breathe first. After a while, she asked, "Are you happy now?" "No," I said. "I didn't do this to be happy. I just wanted it to stop. The taking, the pretending, the way everyone calls it love when it's really debt." Amanda looked down, tracing circles on the rim of her coffee cup. "I didn't know." "I know," I said. "That's what hurts." She stood, eyes empty, and whispered, "I need to handle something." Then she left, leaving the bag of receipts on the table. Hours later, at 2:07 a.m., my phone lit up with a text from Mom. Just one line. "You'll regret what you started." No heart emoji this time. No soft edges. Just threat wrapped in certainty. But what she didn't realize was that her warning had the opposite effect. I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel guilt. I felt peace. The kind that comes when you finally stop trying to convince people who profit from misunderstanding you. By morning, the sun came in pale through the blinds, landing across the stack of envelopes Amanda had left behind. The ink of my own handwriting glinted faintly under the light. Deposits, invoices, balances cleared. Proof of everything I had carried alone. For once, I didn't move to clean it up. I just let the evidence sit there in plain sight, silent and undeniable, like a monument to the moment the truth finally switched sides. The morning after Mom's threat, I didn't feel anger, just a stillness that felt earned. For the first time in years, I wasn't running damage control for anyone. No lists, no emergency payments, no whispered calls from my mother at midnight about temporary setbacks. Just quiet. At 12:08 p.m., Amanda called. I let it ring once, then answered. Her voice was tired. No venom, no theatrics. "Ryan's still gone," she said. "He moved into his brother's place. He says he needs time." The wedding was supposed to be the next day. The guests had canceled. The cake had melted in someone's garage. The dress was being held hostage by a boutique invoice. "There's nothing left but the license," she whispered, "but I'm going through with it anyway. Just us. Courthouse, if he shows up." She paused. "I don't want anything else. No flowers, no music, no guests. I just need it done." Then came the part she'd rehearsed. "I need to ask you for something. Not a gift, a loan." The word hung there, fragile and deliberate. "I swear I'll pay you back," she said. "You don't owe me this, But I saw the receipts. I know how bad it got. I know Mom and Dad lied. Her voice cracked. I didn't know. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just told her, send me the number. An hour later, it came through in a text. $2,600. Enough for a courthouse ceremony, a cheap dress, and a small dinner. I didn't reply. That night, I opened my laptop and began typing. Not an apology, not a reconciliation, a contract. Loan agreement between Elara Wynn and Amanda Collins. Principal, $2,600. Interest, modest but real. Due date, the 3rd of each month. Late payment, $50 fee. Default after 2 missed payments. Legal recourse available. I wrote it with the precision of someone cataloging her own boundaries for the first time. At noon the next day, we met at a diner halfway between my apartment and her temporary crash space, a neutral zone where no family ghosts lingered in the wallpaper. Amanda came in wearing a hoodie and no makeup, her hair pulled into a lopsided bun. She looked smaller than the world she used to occupy. I slid the papers across the table. Read every page, I said. She did, carefully. No objections, no jokes about how cold I'd become. Just pen on paper, her signature curling at the end like a final apology she couldn't say out loud. When she pushed the papers back, I pulled out my phone and wired the money right there. The transfer confirmation chimed softly between us. She didn't say thank you. She just nodded, folded the contract, and tucked it into her purse like a fragile truce. The courthouse ceremony happened the next morning. Ryan showed up. Barely. They didn't post anything. The only reason I knew it happened was because our Aunt Lisa forwarded me a blurry photo Amanda had texted her with the caption, "We did it. Please don't ask questions." 2 days later, an invitation arrived in my inbox. Not printed, emailed. A celebration dinner at a small local restaurant. The tone was polite, desperate to sound normal. Please join us for dinner as we begin this new chapter. I RSVP'd no. But I sent a gift. It arrived 10 minutes before the dinner started, wrapped in silver paper with a white bow. Clean, elegant, impossible to misinterpret. No card. Inside the box was a framed 8x10 printout of the original venue deposit receipt, the one Amanda had begged me to pay 6 months earlier. Taped to the back of the frame was a copy of the loan agreement, enlarged and printed on heavy cardstock. Amanda's signature was highlighted in yellow. The interest rate circled, the due date underlined. From the outside, it looked like a wedding photo waiting to happen. From the inside, it was a mirror. I wasn't there to see it open. I didn't need to be. By 9:00 p.m., my phone began to buzz. My cousin Paige. Holy saw! That was ice cold. One of Amanda's friends. A single laughing emoji. Ryan's brother. Respect. Later, Sarah called, voice low with awe. They opened it in front of everyone, she whispered. The room went silent. Someone said, "Oh my God." Amanda turned pale. Ryan just stared at it. The story spread faster than any rumor ever could. Within 24 hours, people I hadn't spoken to in a decade were texting variations of, "Wait, was that really you?" I didn't confirm, I didn't deny. Because sometimes silence tells the truth louder than words ever could. By the end of the week, the gift had become legend. They called it the framed receipt. The family started referring to it in hushed tones, like a ghost story. And I slept better than I had in years. For once, there was no next favor, no emotional invoice waiting in my inbox. Just proof, hanging in someone else's dining room, that I had finally stopped paying to be loved. Amanda made her first payment a month later. Exactly on the 3rd, $237.65. The precise amount listed in the contract, down to the cents. No note, no emoji, no explanation. Just the quiet transfer of responsibility, finally moving in the right direction. The following month it came again. Same amount, same silence. On the 3rd payment, she added a message. Still paying, still remember. By the 6th month, the note changed once more. 2 words. I know. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was something human. Small and fragile, like the first breath after a long dive. Our parents never reached out again. Not even a holiday text. No, hope you're doing well. No accidental like on an old photo. They erased me cleanly, efficiently, the way people remove evidence they can't face. But I knew they heard about me. Families like ours always do. The gossip traveled in careful euphemisms. She's doing fine, or you know how she is.
The rest of the family began to shift.
First, a cousin I hadn't heard from in years liked one of my Instagram posts, something about morning light through a window. Then Aunt Lisa sent a meme, no caption, like a peace offering disguised as humor. Slowly, they all started reaching back in small ways. Check-in texts, we should catch up soon, lunches, invitations that arrived without the usual weight of expectation. But every time we met, it was there. The story, the framed receipt. Someone always brought it up eventually, circling the memory like a fire they couldn't decide was sacred or dangerous. Apparently, someone had filmed the moment Amanda opened it at the dinner. A cousin's boyfriend, half drunk, had his phone out, recording casually. The video never made it online, but it didn't need to. It spread in group chats, private DMs, whispered retellings. How the room had gone still, how the light caught on the frame, how Amanda flipped it over and saw the loan contract taped to the back. Aunt Kathy was the one who told me what happened next. You could hear the sound of a fork dropping, she said. No one spoke for 10 full seconds. Then one of the uncles said, "Damn, that was it." Total silence after that. Amanda didn't throw the frame away. Ryan tried, said it was bad energy, but she tucked it into a moving box marked MISC. When they moved into their new apartment, my cousin Paige swore she saw it again, still wrapped in the same silver paper, sitting on the closet shelf. Every month, her payments kept arriving. On time. Precise. Predictable. The way our family never was. And with each one, the noise around me faded a little more. The accusations, the pity, the fake apologies, they all dissolved into background static. What remained was quiet accountability, the thing we'd never had. By the time the 9th payment came through, I realized something. I didn't check for it out of spite anymore. I checked because it reminded me I hadn't imagined everything, that the years I spent covering their mistakes and pretending it was love had finally turned into something measurable, something finite. People still whispered about the gift. They said it was cruel, calculated, cold. Maybe it was. But they said those words with a strange kind of respect, like they were describing a storm that rearranged their landscape even if they hated getting wet. Amanda will finish paying in 16 months. When she does, I'll send her a receipt marked paid in full. No message attached, no commentary, just acknowledgement. Because the real debt was never the money. It was the years I spent believing love required proof, that generosity could earn belonging, that sacrifice would eventually buy peace. Now I know better. The real debt is memory, and that one's mine to keep.